Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Public Safety Standing Committee to order. It's 5 o'clock on July 7th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Ron Dunwoody,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Dan Roberts,
Here.
We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. The first one we'll hit right away. Discussion and possible decision regarding traffic visibility concern at intersection of East Walworth Street and South Washington Street. And we all know this is a bad one. Joel, you have one?
I think probably Matt will take this with the city engineer, would be my guess.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. I know Mike just got back in town. Both Joel and I met with a traffic engineer from Kapoor. His name's Neil Stika. I think he spoke before the council before, probably when we were talking about Creekside at some point. If you remember him, he usually would zoom in because he's out of the Milwaukee office. But when he met with us, he went over a couple things. This is Joel's memo that he put together. But we were looking at different options to, create better viewing triangles in this intersection. So a couple things we talked about was eliminating one stall at this location. Everybody can kind of see my screen. So that would be the northeast corner of the intersection of Washington and Walworth. It was really close to the crosswalk to begin with. So similar to the adjacent quadrant, we eliminated a stall there. We also proposed putting in a parallel parked handicap accessible stall that would be 15 feet wide, 24 feet long, depending on how you want to say it. And also, in order to be consistent with the number of stalls, we were converting this stall from an existing handicap stall to a regular stall, understanding that parking is kind of limited already. We're already eliminating the stall over here. We tried our best to try to squeeze something in over here at this corner. It just didn't, the way a car would come in to try to do parallel parking, it just didn't work. So we've talked to Vasilis, we've talked to the auto parts store. They don't have any issues with this configuration or layout. So those were the conclusions that we came to try to improve visibility. I think, and I don't know if Joel will agree with me or not, but I think that southbound was more of an issue. It was brought up as being a bigger issue than northbound. I know northbound has some, triangle viewing issues, but with the lower speeds, I think that this is probably our best option, at least to start with. So from that, I welcome any questions if you had any.
Committee members?
And the other option is do a whole study, which is going to cost a lot of money, right?
Yep, you can do that too.
Well, I'm not a fan of spending more money unless we have to. I think this option would work.
I like this option. I think it'll work fine.
Chief, you.
I agree. I think you have to understand that the difficulties with the intersection are something that we're always going to have to deal with. You can't ever make this vision triangle perfect because of what we've been dealt with as far as setbacks. So it's always going to be a double stop. There's nothing you can do to prevent that. My personal opinion is that if you were to make it a 4-way stop, I think you will actually create more problems than you're trying to solve by doing this. This will help enhance the vision triangle, as well as it may very well enhance accessibility for those that are handicapped to get to Vasilis specifically. But there's nothing that you can do to really solve what we were originally trying to take a look at, just because of the nature of this intersection. So I think this is your best alternative that Matt and Neil have come up with, and I definitely support it.
Okay.
What would this cost, Matt?
We were going to do all the work in-house. It was just a matter of doing the pavement striping. So I didn't put any dollar values to it, but it's striping that we would refresh every year anyway. So we have the templates, and it's minimal in my opinion.
Can you do that anyhow sometime in August before the fair?
Yeah, we would have liked to have done it sooner. We're just struggling with, with the crew right now and just members. But yeah, we'd like to get it going on as soon as we can. So.
Can I be heard? Yes, of course.
Since my constituent was the one that brought this to the committee's attention, I guess I just want to voice, I'm still a little concerned that we've better addressed the two corners that you all have discussed, but we haven't addressed the corners that he was most specifically interested in the south end. And you know, I was wondering if there's a way we can eliminate one of those stalls or do something so there's a better site picture. I see we've addressed it on the northern end, but the southern end has still got the same issue it had before, which was diagonal parking, depending on how big your vehicle is, or if there's some work truck or, you know, UPS or whatever, you still have the problem with the site picture.
On
So
the
I just-
southwest corner.
On both corners, because of the diagonals, you know,
Sorry.
so, and I don't know, maybe the answer, Joel, is that this is the best we can do, and if it is, that's fine. But his initial, if I remember correctly, his initial concern was the southern end, it's not the northern end as much, if I remember that. Was it the northern end?
It was the northern.
Okay, then I misspoke. All right, so we can't do anything about the southern end at all?
Well, I guess you could, but I think the reason it's angle parking right now is because you're trying to maximize what limited real estate you have for those businesses.
Sure.
So I think in so doing, obviously, you're gonna lose on-street availability of parking, and you're already are losing stalls by putting in the handicap where we're considering doing it right now. And truly, the crash center doesn't support doing anything.
Okay,
So again, I would go back, I think this is the best option.
okay,
We can always reevaluate, but until, you know, crash data or something else suggests, I think this is the best option for now.
okay, fair enough. Thanks to the committee for taking a look at this, appreciate it.
I'd make a motion to move forward with it, to push the council.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that item? All in favor for moving it forward?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item, discussion and possible decision, regarding handicap accessible parking stalls at intersection of Walworth Street and Wisconsin Street.
So this was another, you know, in looking at Washington and Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, Washington and Walworth, we wanted to look at adjacent areas as well. And it was brought up by someplace else that they also have a desire for more handicap parking. They actually mentioned, as I stated in my memo, that they would like to have two, and we could certainly do that, if the committee or the council wants to. But again, I understand that parking is limited to begin with, as Joel referenced as well. One of the things that they had asked about was maybe we could squeeze on or handicap accessible parking off of Wisconsin Street here at these locations where my cursor's at. We don't have enough room in consideration of the width of the existing stalls and also the roadway width. There's just virtually no way of doing it unless we're going to encroach on sidewalk here, which would be more expensive to do, to actually have sidewalk cutouts. You're also pretty close to the intersection, so that's another reason why this wasn't a favorable location in coordination with Neil Syka. We talked about putting one here, which would actually end up closing two additional parking stalls. So you'd have the 11-foot stall, and then next to that, you'd have a 5-foot accessible stall or an access aisle next to it. And again, that would eliminate or take up two existing stalls. So again, with that in mind, there is an existing handicap accessible stall across the street. Not to say that there's not a need for one there, but in consideration of trying to balance things again, we are proposing to eliminating that stall and adding the additional one here. That doesn't necessarily have to be the decision made. We started at this point and wanted to get feedback back from the committee. So again, if there's any additional questions regarding that, or any questions, I know Chris said that she mentioned she talked to Katie from someplace else too. I saw an email that she'd shared saying that she would like to at least see one, if not two. So that's kind of where we're at with this one. Joel was also involved in the online or virtual meetings that we have with Kapoor. So if you have any questions for him, he might be able to answer those as well.
So with the concern of wanting more handicap space, why will we eliminate the one across the street?
That would, just to, go ahead, Joel, if you want to, but I was just say, just to balance us taking away, we're taking away 2 regular stalls on the south side in order to accommodate 1 handicap accessible stall. So in order to offset that, that's why I was proposing having one. And, you know, I don't see a lot of people parking here to go to the crosswalk to cross to go to the restaurants. But I know it's a heavily used corner. So that was the reasoning.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah,
I see where I work part-time downtown. I do see that handicap stall in the northwest corner getting used a lot during the day with, the Elk Restaurant, and then for the early traffic for someplace else. And I'd like to see that stay just for accessibility for the downtown park, for Veterans Park, for the all the activities
I would agree
there.
with that. And I think that other one needs to stay.
Yeah.
So we could add the one, that's absolutely would be. a
On the
good idea.
southwest corner in front of
Yeah,
someplace
yeah,
else.
but the other one needs to stay. So especially with, Sundays or Saturdays on the square, stuff like that, they're very accessible to anything that goes on in the square, so.
Right, can we hear on this?
Yes.
I'd just like to say, with that stall across the street, being a handicap stall, I went to the downtown business owners, and they were concerned about giving up stalls. We're giving up 2 for a handicap spot here. Could we move that farther down to that crosswalk across from the old city hall? Make it a regular stall now, put a handicap stall there where they could access that crosswalk and be on that sidewalk there. That might, and I'm speaking for downtown business owners without them being here, but they might like that stall closer to their stores.
Yes,
There's a handicap stall right on the other side of
right,
the street.
right around the corner.
Right on the other side of the street there. Yeah, it's a handicap stall right where the break is, that where they can get up. Okay, so that, where the old bank front is there.
Okay.
There's one there, and then there's space right next to it, so in case they need space, it's like a double. So there's one on that side of the street, down that far, because I parked in that spot, not in the handicap spot next to it, and I got a ticket. And I said, well, I'm gonna go down and race out, it didn't say no parking there, it's got an arrow. I paid it. So there's one down there, Peter, right on the other side of the street, in that position.
Yeah.
Whether that was.
yeah, so if I can too, yeah, this is a better view. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get there, but yeah, here's the one. This is the northeast corner of the intersection of Wisconsin and Walworth. There's one here in front of Moyes. There's one here at the northwest corner in front of Veterans Park. And then there isn't one in between Broad and Wisconsin. There is one around the corner though, here on Broad and Walworth.
Matt, can you move just straight up from that intersection? What I'm saying is move this handicap stall from the east side of this first strip to the west side where they could,
You could have 2 there, because that's not big enough, that's not long enough, that would block out any of the intersection, you still have to have the 5-foot.
you lose 2?
Yeah, you
Okay.
lose 2.
Lose 2.
All right.
This way, with that, they've got enough room, if somebody needs assistance getting up on the hard surface, which is the sidewalk, it's walking.
Yeah, I would say that, I agree with that, just because of the access aisle. This is so you have the handicap stall here, and then next to it, you've got, a wide, it's wider than it normally would need to be for an access aisle. So if you moved it down to this end, you would have to probably take up another stall in order to do that.
All right.
Do we have a motion whether to move this forward by committee members?
I'd be fine with the motion of having, the handicap in front of someplace else and leaving the other one as it is.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion on the item? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Last item, discussion and possible decision regarding no parking along West Hidden Trail near the intersection of North Church Street, on both sides of West Hidden Trail to include the private entrance to the apartment complex on the south side.
So I'm gonna try to pull up another exhibit here if I can.
I know you had it up earlier.
Yep, just gonna move back there. There we go. I know this one's not as clear, but with the street view, it kind of helps. So I know that we had two ladies that stopped in maybe a month or so ago, and they, during public comment, they voiced some concerns about this location. And I believe the issue was that you have a private drive that is, okay, this is Hidden Trail, this direction is north, and here's North Church Street. So you have the drive that goes in back of the strip mall, and then you also have this private drive that goes to a couple of apartment complexes. And the concern is that folks were parking here, making it difficult for people to be able to see coming out. I went there today, I didn't see the truck there today, or a vehicle parked anywhere in between, you know, this entrance or this entrance. I did see some down here. So there are multiple people. I guess I just want that to be known that there are multiple people that use West Hidden Trail. It is a local road. It's not like it's a collector for on-street parking. Over on this side, there was a truck and a trailer parked. So, you know, in talking with Joel, we were looking at, he actually sent it to me, rules of the road, and the recommendation by rules of the road for private entrances would be 12 foot. So 12 foot from the end of this entrance to, you know, point out here would be where they would not want to see parking. We're beyond that, would not be enforced per the rules of the road. But I, again, I know it's been something where Ken's been getting a lot of input, and I don't know if you want to share more, Ken?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, where he showed that truck and trailer on the other side, that park's there on the weekends. He has no room to park it. And it's this right here, okay? And I've seen that there several times, and there is a pickup truck that parks out there too. He nudges right up to the end, you know? And these are elderly people. That's the only way they can get out of there. There is no other way. A couple of them right now have, their summer toys, you might call it out. So he's got a boat in the driveway, he's got a UTV, and he has to park his vehicles on the street, you know? It is, I've gone down in there and turned around. A couple of ladies have called me, and they're seniors. And you just can't see around there. There's a bend in the road right going back further. So if that truck is out there, you know, they're nudging their way out, nudging their way out. It's pretty, I think it probably originally was designed. Now, we did look on the map, and a couple of those run through and around. This one here is sort of blocked off.
Yeah.
So that's their only way out of there, is coming out on the.
So is the problem on, man, if you can go back where you show the.
Sure.
The van and the trailer, that's on Church. That's not an issue, if, right?
Well, he does park on the other side of the street sometimes.
Well, I'm saying,
Yeah.
but if you're on North Church, that's not the issue that they're having a problem with Hidden Trail.
Right.
So the focus should be on this section right here.
Right, it is, but that does end up parking there for the weekend.
Sure, I understand. I'm just saying that, so the point about rules of the road, if we added a no parking 12 feet off, that kind of splits the baby, because you don't want to take away parking from people anymore.
No.
Would you do 12 feet from each entrance?
Pardon?
Would you do 12 feet from each entrance then?
Well, the other entrance has got a.
Oh, no, not this one, I mean this one down here.
Oh, there's only one, that's the only way in and out.
Right,
That's it.
right, but we're only concerned with just that one on the corner. If we're talking about the corner, not being able to see around it, would you go 12 feet in from that other entrance? Can you turn to the west a little, if you can, Matt? That one. Because that's also right on the corner. So would you go 12 feet onto the corner and try to help keep that open then?
Too much so.
I mean, I would say that this car is probably close to that. I'd say 8 feet maybe. Just look at these panels here. I'd say you're probably these are 5 feet, each one of these squares. That car's probably 10 feet back right now,
Right. But on the other side of the driveway.
over
So
here.
they're worried about being able to see when they come out of there.
Up here.
Would you go 12 feet towards the east off in the corner of this driveway as well to cut down on how much they could park on that corner? Would that help or hurt
I
or?
think these people down here, what we're looking at right now, have another way out, you know?
Right, I was just talking about the view from that,
Your line of
from the
sight-
other driveway.
Your line of sight. going
your line of sight around the
Right,
corner.
right.
Might cut it, might.
Right, if they started packing cars in after that 12 feet, if you went 12 feet off on both of them, it'd cut down on how many people could park in there.
Your line of sight actually is probably better because you're on a corner. Because if I'm pulling out there, I can see around those cars, because I can see down the road. On this
Just
one,
curious.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just to, as Ken mentioned too, for the folks that live off of this is their truly only point of ingress egress is Weston Trail.
They're trapped.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said they're trapped.
Yes,
There's no other way out.
correct.
And
Yeah.
12 feet sounds like a lot here,
It's not though.
but it's not a lot. You still would have to, you know, sort of crawl out there to get around. To get a good look. And the speed limit's 25, but Joel and I have talked, and they go pretty fast on that street, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
I've had calls, you know. So,
Do we need more ticket books? I'll approve it.
So are we proposing no parking on that side there or just at 12 foot?
well,
So if I can speak, Matt, I believe it's 4 feet from a private drive, not,
Let me share my screen again.
so it's 4 feet from a private drive. From a normal intersection, it would be 15 feet from the closest limits of the crosswalk. So if you want to treat this drive into their apartment complex more like a traditional street, I would suggest 15 feet from their private drive entrance to take a look at, because right now, by statute, it would be 4 feet. So that vehicle that you were seeing before, that'd be okay to park
I kind of highlighted it here. I guess I didn't misspeak. It says, within 4 feet of an entrance to an alley or a private road, no closer than 15 feet to the near limits of a crosswalk. And that's what you were referring to, Joel?
there. Yes.
Well, it's gonna be what, one sign or two, if you did 15 feet?
Oh, we could, I guess, let me jump back to the map, if that's okay.
One sign yellow and yellow painting on the curb.
Probably just the sign, yellow painted curbs in Wisconsin just doesn't work well because of the winters. So probably just the sign. It would be
Just one sign that says no parking from here to drive.
something
Something like that.
correct, because you already had the fire hydrant on the
Right.
other
Right.
side, so that's not an issue.
I'd be all right with 15 feet.
Yeah, I make a motion to do the sign
We have a motion?
15 feet.
15 feet.
I'll
We have a
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
And we're just doing just that right there on Hidden Trail, that's at one spot. Okay. Yep.
All right.
that's
We have,
what they say.
all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. And that is it for our meeting. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.